Hi, and welcome to Silent No Longer. I'm Misha, and I'm truly grateful you're here. This podcast is a safe, judgment free space for healing, hope, and conversation for anyone who has lived through toxic or abusive relationships. I know what it feels like to be trapped, unheard, and unseen. I've walked through years of toxicity, financial hardship, and spiritual battles. But through faith, God restored my strength, and I found freedom. Now, my purpose is to help others discover the same healing and breakthrough. On this podcast, we'll share stories of resiliency, transformation, and faith. I'll open up about my own journey and we'll hear from guests who have walked similar paths and come out stronger. My goal is to remind you that you are not alone, that healing is possible, and that your past does not define your destiny. If what you hear resonates with you, you can dive deeper into my story in my book, Behind Closed Doors. And for those ready to take the next step in their healing, you can schedule a free clarity call with me if you're ready to break chains, release bondages, overcome limited beliefs, and build confidence and self worth. Thank you for joining me today. It's an honor to be part of your journey, and I can't wait to walk with you through this season of healing, hope, and breakthrough. Welcome to Silent No Longer, where your past is a chapter and not the whole book. Today's guest has a story that will touch your heart and remind you of God's power to heal. Avonlea is the author of Strength of Scars, where she shares her journey from surviving a tragic house fire at just the age of 3 years old. Walking through years of emotional, physical, and mental abuse, Avonlea has fought her way toward healing, resiliency, and forgiveness. I'm honored to have her here today to share what God has done in her life and to remind us all that the freedom and purpose. Avonlea, thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Maisha. It's a pleasure being here, and I'm excited for this show.
Thank you. Can we just start by you just telling us a little bit about your story?
Yeah, so my story, Strength of Scars, started at 3 years old, like you mentioned in the bio. In India, I was trying to save my mother from a house fire. Um, my dad was drunk, passed out, unresponsive. When I went to try to wake him up, he just wouldn't wake up. And so I just felt like I needed to take care of my mom somehow because she was like screaming in pain. And my other siblings, they were in school at that time, and my grandparents had taken my little baby sister, and they weren't around. So I didn't feel like I could go out and check to see where they were at because you don't often hear your mother screaming for help. So I that's what I did. I went and hugged her tight, and pretty soon I was engulfed in flames.
Oh, wow.
That was the start of my, journey of tragedy, and when I went to the hospital to recover, I had to be scrubbed of the, what the fire had, burned onto my skin, so I had to get a lot of the clothes, scrubbed off, and I didn't have any sort of, like, numbing agents to kinda help calm my nerves. And so that was really hard. Um, and then I'm really lucky that I didn't get like burned on my face or like the front area. And so they had me lay on a cot just to like heal. I'm sorry, sorry.
You're okay.
um, um, to like recover. And then like my mom, she was like rolled out and she was completely like burned for all over her body, like the top of like her head, like she didn't have any hair. It was all burned off, and she was just like you couldn't even recognize her. And she passed away 3 days later. And my dad stopped showing up to check on me to see how I was doing. He just kind of left me alone, and I was there for a few months recovering. And once I recovered, was released, and I went to pay respects to my mom, who were Catholic, and so I remember being in my blue underwear, um, bowing down to my Mother Mary, and after I said just pay my respects, the next thing I remember was my dad taking me to the orphanage to be adopted. So I didn't have time to, like, enjoy time with my family, um, and just receive their love. It was kinda hard just going from one abandoned like, I felt abandoned at the hospital to coming home and then, um, going to the, orphanage, again, feeling abandoned. 2 weeks later of being there by myself, I saw my dad come by with 3 other of my siblings. I believe at that point, he knew he couldn't take care of them. He had a large family, and, he put them up for adoption. I was very fortunate enough to be adopted with my 2 of my, biological sibling. My baby sister was adopted somewhere else, I believe in Washington. But yeah, so that was the start of my journey.
Wow. I didn't realize that, um, you had burns on you. I thought your mom just was in the
Yeah,
fire.
that's what a lot of people say because they can't see it. But yeah, I have it on my arms, up in my legs, and, all over my back, like fifth degree scarring on my back. Um, and it just got to the point where, like, I remember being burned. There's a point in your body where you just can't feel it anymore. The nerves just, you know, die out and you just don't feel it. But like I was recovering, like, oh my gosh, that was worse. Like getting scrubbed. That was worse than fire itself. But
Yeah.
yeah, so, and then in the orphanage, I was then, g- you're groomed to get ready for your families in America. We had to forget the culture of India and how we ate, how we talked. We had to start learning English and using American manners, um, just to like to make it easily adjustable for our the new families, which makes sense.
Mhm.
Um, we saw a lot of like families that would come by and like they would give us chocolates or like goodies as they were taking their new adopted child and seeing like how excited they were, it it kind of made at least it made me a little bit more comfortable knowing which direction I was going to go. Like it planted that vision of okay, that's what they mean by you're going to have a new family. And yeah, so that was the process in the orphanage. And I then was flew into New York, um, and that's where I met my dad, was in New York, and we flew to Utah, and where he lives, in a rural area in a ranching community, and, my sister and I, one of my sisters and I, we meshed really well with the family. We accepted our parents as our new parents, and we just accepted everything. My older sister, she did not. She was she was still grieving the loss of what
Mhm.
was happening. Like, at
Yeah.
least with me, during the time my dad abandoned me and I was left alone, I was able to process a lot of it, together, and, I was able to, like, retain a lot of the memories that happened. But with my sister, it wasn't. It was like, "Okay, you're going to be adopted too." And so she was 9 years old when she was adopted. So she had full memory, of my parents, my other siblings, and she was not, like, willing to see my mother as her mom
Mhm.
anymore. They're like, "No, you're not my mom." And it was really hard for her to adjust. And, because my mom couldn't handle that, that's kinda when the abuse started happening. It, like, set off a trigger for her. I don't know. But, my parents adopted 14 children,
Wow.
and I know, a lot, but they had already adopted 3 boys by the time and they were graduated. It's I think one of them was married, another one was get married soon, so they were at that age where they were out on their own, before they adopted the rest of us kids. And when I wrote this book, um, my brothers were like, "Hey, I didn't realize you went through the same thing that I went through, like, the abuse that they went through." I
Oh.
I would've, like I would've put a stop to it if I would've known, but I thought you guys were fine, but because we
Mhm.
never really talked about it, and they never came around either a lot. But, yeah, there was a lot of abuse that happened. My mom had a hard time, like, adjusting, like, with my older sister of, just she didn't know how to help her, and my sister was not willing to see her as a mom, and so they just kinda butted head, which made the situation worse, and because of that, knowing that my mom couldn't, like, have my sister Violet under control, she that's when the abuse started happening, and every time she would retaliate, I would get abused and I would get punished for what she would do.
To
So
punish your sister.
mhm, yeah, and I struggled in school, um, and because I came with 8 different dialects, and so I was getting, like, a lot of, like, symbolisms and words mixed up. I have dyslexia, I still do, but it's easier to manage 'cause I'm able to figure out what the problem is and how to, fix it.
Mhm.
Whereas when I was younger, I didn't have that help, and so I suffered in school a lot, and my teachers would tell my mom, like, "Hey, she's behind in school, she needs help." Tutoring, and at first, I don't think my mom really wanted the tutoring, but, and so as soon as I was done with school, she would have me go down in the basement, and I would then do more lessons and homework, and, I just was crying because a lot of the lessons and homeworks that she would give me was above the grade level that I was, learning, and what I was learning at the time was already difficult. And so, like, learning a higher grade level was it was near impossible for me. So, I couldn't come up, I couldn't play, I couldn't do anything until I was able to get any of that, some of the lessons done, which I never really did. And when that didn't happen, my mom would punish me and send me up to my room for 3 days with no food and water, because that was just her form of punishment. But luckily, I had a couple of my siblings that would sneak in some food for me. But yeah, that was like I didn't qui like, I think my mom knew how to get at me, like, what kind of abuse to get at me. And to her, like, she used emotional abuse. Yeah, she was physical here and there, but she was physical to other siblings, but she used more of the emotional abuse, mental abuse on me, which I really like, I think a lot of it had to be like, I could be able to deal with um, high pain, like, I have high pain tolerant
Mhm.
because of the burns. I could deal with, like, physical abuse easier, and
Mhm.
I think she knew that I could handle that, and because I was tough that way, because I survived a fire and, um, I could like, I think that helped me to be more high pain tolerant. And so she emotionally abused me because that was like a trick that really hurt a child when they're, like, in isolation. When I was isolated in the hospital and then being in the orphanage alone for that first 2 weeks, it makes a child start thinking, like, "What's going on?" So then when I was adopted and those things were happening to me and I was isolated, I started wondering, like, what was wrong with me? What did I do
Mhm.
wrong? Why did why did God choose me to survive? Why didn't he choose my mom? So there's just, like, a lot of self-sabotage that I would do to myself, um, and that's when I started picking up bad thoughts of, like, hurting myself. um, I don't deserve being here because my mom's not happy. So if she's not happy, like, and she'd rather not have me around, it's best for me to not exist. So it's like those thought process that was running through my mind. Um, and so, like, and just like one thing always led to another. And I had to, like, try to figure out how to survive each and every day because um, every day was like, you just never know, like, what would trigger my mom. Like, I had always kept my room cleaned. I was just a clean person. I always kept my room clean, made my bed. She never taught me these things. And my sisters were the same way. We were just always nice and tidy. My mom was a hoarder. She just was a pack rat and had a lot of stuff, and it's just irritating just having just a lot of, like, distraction. And anything that triggered her, if my sister triggered her, somebody triggered her, she would just come up to my room, say, "Your room's a mess, you need to clean it." It's like, "Oh, it is." She would just rip everything out of the closet, take my, bedding off and say, "Okay, now clean it." So then I would have to be in my room, cleaning my room, and, and it's just really hard because it's like, my room was clean. Why did you do that? Like, why did
Yeah.
you destroy it? And yeah, it's just like stuff like that. And I gravitated towards the outdoors because I felt safe. Like I mentioned, I was raised on a ranch, so I was around horses and cows and cats and dogs, and they're like my best friends. Um, and it really helped me to cope with what I was going through, is being able to be around these animals. And my dad, he was a really good man, and my sisters and we would go and help him on the ranch, and that was our way to get away from my mom because we didn't w I just knew, like, I couldn't please my mom, I couldn't make her happy, so I didn't wanna be around her to
Mhm.
have her take that anger out on me. So I felt that maybe separating myself from her and going with my dad will help her, deal with not throwing her problems into my face. But clearly that didn't work because any fun that I had, she took those away. Eventually, she started molesting my sister, in front of me, when my sister started hitting puberty, and the boys really I don't know, the boys really liked her, and I don't know what was wrong with my mom, but she didn't help her during her time of her growth, and, she would just start, mm, doing things to her in front of me, and I remember, like, feeling so disgusted. Like, why would you do that to my sister? Why would you do that? Like, that's just so sad. And I was like, I don't ever want to hit puberty again. But I would pray to God, like, don't ever let me grow up. I don't want to grow up because I don't want what my mom is doing to my sister. So, like, yeah, that was part of my prayers for a very long time, and lucky for me, I didn't hit puberty until I was, like, way into my high school year, but it's like there's just a lot of stuff that happened that emotionally affected us and, just held us back in many good opportunities, held us back in self-esteem and confidence in many ways.
Well, I wanna say thank you for sharing all that with me. I went through a lot of stuff growing up, and a lot of how you said that you felt is how I felt growing up, and I thought that was the only person in the world who felt that way. Because you hear other people talk about their childhood, and you just think that you're the only person who's ever gone through just, you know.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really sad knowing, like, there's actually a lot more people that can relate to a lot of these abuse.
Mhm.
And as a child, you just think that you're the only one that's going through it, or like, why you? And yeah, that's just really hard.
Okay, so I wrote some notes, and I wanted to backtrack and ask you some questions if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
You said that your dad stopped coming and seeing you at the hospital. Did he ever talk to you about how he felt about the situation? Like, did you ever have any closure? Or maybe he just felt guilty and
Yeah,
that's why he
so
gave all of you guys up?
I think when I was in the hospital, I think he felt guilty when my mom passed away, and I was the one that survived. I this is just my personal opinion. I don't think he could handle seeing that, what had happened, that he
Mhm.
was at fault, knowing that what happened to my mom and to me and the damage that incurred with the whole family was really, like, him, like, in many ways. If he was conscious enough, he would probably would been able to help my mom in a way, like, she probably could have still been severely, like, hurt, but, like, not in a way where it's fatal.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
so I do think a lot of it has to do with guilt. And then when he sent the other siblings and myself to the orphanage, I think it was also him feeling so much pressure of having to care for these young kids. Because I told you we had 9 siblings, and so that he didn't have a really good job. We were poor, so the weight of him having to take care of all of these kids without my mom was probably too heavy for him.
yeah. Is that something that you realized when you were younger that maybe he felt guilty, or is that something that you came to terms with as you got older?
I think it's kinda crazy, but I've always known that, and
Okay.
I was okay with that. And, when I was adopted, I saw my adopted dad as my dad and never wanted to go seek my real dad just because my adopted dad was just a really good person, and he had everything I needed as what I needed as a dad. And so, knowing like, hey, my dad gave me up, like I just respected his decision and didn't ever want to look back into that. It wasn't until later when I was like just a few years ago when I realized, you know what, I think it is important that I reach out to my dad and see if I can like forgive him. So then he's not holding a lot of that like emotion and energy and sadness on him. And maybe I could shed a little bit of light for him because
Mhm.
I know like he made like this big, huge mistakes. And we have to realize we all make mistakes at some point,
Yeah.
and we can't just hold grudges. And I don't want him to feel like, oh, I did bad all the time and just awful
Mhm.
person. you can still move on, and I'm hoping, like, by forgiving him, he'll like, a lot of that weight will be lifted off so he can live. Even if he doesn't want a relationship with me, that's okay. It's just giving him that gift to move forward is what I would wanna do.
Yeah. It's really nice that you reached out to him.
I haven't reached out.
You
I wrote
haven't
that
reached
book
out?
because no, because I don't know, any because he told the orphanage not to give any of his information to us
Mm,
because he did not want us to find him. So that's another reason why I wrote my book is to hopefully hopefully he'll come across it and, he'll be
okay.
okay at that point.
Okay. And then you talked about how you feel like you could take physical abuse more than emotional abuse, and I feel the same way, and I kinda wonder if it's because when you're tormented mentally, there's no escape because then you're just stuck in your head, but if somebody's doing something to you physically, you can take yourself out of the situation with your mind. Does that make sense?
Mhm. Yeah, it makes sense, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, for reals, you can it's like you can leave that part of you and just like, okay, allow
Mhm.
that pain because okay, over time it's going to like I'll get better. And I
Yeah.
can tolerate that. It's like, okay, I'll just like you have this high pain tolerance and you know that you can tolerate it. And it's like, okay, whatever, I can tolerate it. Whereas emotional pain, that slices you in
Yes.
many pieces. It makes you start questioning who your identity, who you are, if you how you cope, and it takes away a lot of your confidence in your own self and trust, like even trust of other people and not either like even making friends. Like I
Mhm.
had a hard time going out making friends, even though I did have good friends in high school. It was just really hard to I would rather have people come up to me and introduce themselves than I would ever go to somebody else because I never wanted someone else to feel like they had to be my friend because, like the abuse that you go through, you think you're just a bad person. So you don't want to be a bad friend or person to
Yeah.
another friend, you know?
Yeah. Mhm.
So you just, I just avoided those things.
Yeah, I still do.
Hmm.
Honestly, I'm it's so hard for me to make friends, and then I realized just these last few months that if a friend starts acting like a true friend, and then you don't hear from them for a little and it might not even be a reason, like, I just don't hear from them, or if I'm going through something and they're not there, I feel abandoned. So I realized that that's something that I need to work on because 'cause I'm not quite sure what's triggering it, and I just think it's just because I was alone my whole life. Growing
Yeah.
up, I had to pretty much survive on my own, you know?
Hmm.
So, I mean, I
Mine
didn't
was
trust
like if a friend reaches and they message you a lot, I would get anxiety. Like,
Really?
my gosh, this person like is this a really good friend or are they using me? What is it? Because people don't really talk to me like this. Because I'm really like, I'm an introvert. I like to keep to
Yeah,
myself
me
and I
too.
don't like to like just go out and like hang out with a huge crowd. I'd rather just be like a homebody just because I think of what had happened with me, the
Mhm.
insecurity. And so, like, when I do end up making a really good friend, like give me a call, check up on me, or like text me a lot. Oh, I would I used to get anxiety.
That's really interesting because when I meet somebody and I want to be friends with them, I'll just, like, send them random texts about my day or whatever, ask them a question. They don't have to respond back, but it's
Mhm.
just me saying, "Hey, look, blah, blah, this is happening," or "This happened," or "This was funny," or whatever. It could just be something
Right.
stupid, and just saying like, "Hey, I'm thinking about you," or I'll just
Mhm.
call them up because they're on my mind, but I never thought that maybe that would cause the other person anxiety. I realize if they don't respond back or engage with me, I'll just
Mhm.
stop because I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah.
they don't wanna be my friend."
It I know it's kinda interesting because now that we're, like, talking about it, you went through your own trauma and I went through our own trauma, and then you just kinda look at society as a whole, and, in general, when people don't message somebody, they just think that that person is not a really good friend, right?
Mhm,
But I there's more to people's life, um,
mhm,
and the way if they decide not to respond or if they do respond or it's just kinda interesting, and we definitely don't need to use, like, the phone as a reason to, like, I guess, like, eliminate friendship.
mhm. I just feel everybody communicates in different ways. You
Mhm.
have some people who, if you don't answer right away when they call, they'll get mad, or if you don't text back right away, "Why are you
Yeah.
ghosting me?" And it's like, "I have a life too." I always tell
Yeah.
people, "Don't feel bad if you didn't text me back." I have a one of my best friends, we talk, like, once every 3 to 6 months because
Mhm.
we know we're busy and time just
Yeah.
gets away from us. But that doesn't mean
Yeah.
that I think of her any less.
Right.
But
That's like a lot of my best friends. My best friends are the ones that I don't really talk to for a year.
mhm,
And when we finally do talk, we talk.
mhm.
But we don't ever like get upset and say, "Hey, you're not my best friend. You're not talking to me." Like, "Where are you?" It's just we just understand each other, and it's so, like, a lovely friendship when you don't feel like you have to reach out to that person, check up on them. You just know that they're okay, and when you call them or you text them, they'll be there for you.
Yeah. And you talked about so much stuff in your story, and a lot of it just hit home so much. Um, how is your sister doing after everything that she went through? Are you guys still close or
Yeah, so, like, my older s okay, so in my family, my mom has created, like, this system where everybody kind of fights for her love, even if it means throwing another sibling under the bus and getting them in trouble. Um, yeah, and it still is happening right now. And so one of my, like, biological sibling, she, has been favored on my mom's side. And so when I've asked her, "Hey, I don't want you to tell mom what's happening in my family or other family members. If she wants that relationship and she wants to know what's going on with my family and my kids, I wanna be able to talk to her. I want
Mhm.
to engage with her. Like, it would be amazing to have a mom where you can talk to, just like, these, my other siblings are able to do. I don't see how that is any different. She kinda got upset with me on that and just cut me off and hasn't talked to me since then. Um, and then my other older sisters, um, she's gone through so much. Oh, sweetest person ever, always willing to help anybody out. But she's battled her own traumas and um, finding her husband, which like you find your love thinking like anybody that can love you, you assume that they love you for who you are, and sometimes they kind of abuse your love. Um, and so it's been really difficult, to see her grow, um, and seeing her fight this, but it's been really rewarding in a lot of ways because she's after a little bit, like few years ago, she finally surrendered to God and
That's
was like,
awesome.
I need help.
Mhm.
And so she like, not saying that she didn't, like, believe in God before she did. It was now she was just giving everything to God, and every decisions that she makes is based on, like, what does God want for me? What does God want for my children? What does God want for my husband? What does God, want for my family? And, you could see so much strength in the way God is moving her and building her, and she's just an inspiration, and we just kinda help each other. And yeah, we're very close, supporting each other. Um, we've we understand what we've gone through, and I don't know, she's like a mother to me, because she's always been there since I was little. She was always caring. She was the one that would bring me food when my mom wouldn't allow me to eat.
That's awesome you guys have that relationship, and you had
Mhm.
each other during a difficult time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's my
and then it's been joyful, honestly, like, she it's she just lights up a lot of people's world. Like, she just has a way to gravitate towards people to like her, and, um, even though she's gone through a lot of her burdens, and she doesn't talk about a lot of the things she goes through, but she's still so giving. It's really
Yeah,
inspiring.
that's awesome. I'm so glad that you get to see her, um, change and, grow with her relationship and heal from a lot of the things that she's been through. Um, yeah, because 'cause I've been through a lot of similar things that she's been through in life, and I was just kinda wondering how she was doing after, so I'm really happy, that she found her way and's let God leading her life because I finally did that too after a while, and it definitely makes a difference,
It really
such a
does.
big difference. I mean, I always had God in my life, I always prayed all the time that he'd keep me safe because
Mhm.
I was in some crazy situations, but
And
yeah.
I feel like, when you finally, like, watching like, I've had a relationship with God because I
Mhm,
chose to have a relationship with God since I was little. So I've always kept God close because he was my protector, and
mhm,
I liked that protection. So I I've always had him. Whereas my sister, like, seeing when, h the way she was dealing with life and not having God at one point, and then s the struggles that she went through, and then when she brought God in, you could see, like, a big, huge shift and, a change in her, in the way, like, God just opens up a lot of opportunities, of
mhm,
healing. He'll also is allowing her to start trusting, because for a very long time, she didn't, like, talk to me about a lot of things because, I think it was because she just wanted to keep me safe, and didn't want me to feel bad, but also, I think I would call her out on some of the things that she shouldn't be doing, which I knew, like, God wouldn't be pleased with, and was trying to help her, and at the time, she was not wanting it. And so I think that was, like, holding her back, but, um, when she found God, I think, like, God really helped healed a lot of her wounds, allowing her to trust certain people, bringing trust back into her life. And you could see so much growth in the way she is taking on in her life, and how she's a beacon to, like, the people that she works with, even just, like, taking walks at a park, she just randomly talks to people. Like, I'm like, "Wow, that's amazing," I can never, like, just randomly, like, like, talk to people, like, that's just not how I am, but she does, and she really lights up a lot of people's, um, day, and I think that's just beautiful because we really do need to be more of a beacon to other people.
Yeah, that's interesting. I like hearing your side on how you've seen your sister grow. Because I've actually talked to my best friend. We've been friends since um my older kids were in preschool, and I was in a
Mhm,
really bad toxic relationship with my kids' dad. And then after him, I went and got married, and it was a different type of toxic relationship. So she's seen me through all that, and then she's seen me on the other side of letting God take control of my life and going through all the healing and how far I've come and where I'm at now. And I always tell her, I'm like, "We need to do a podcast of the
mhm.
friend who actually stayed in your life and didn't leave you the entire time and seeing you through all these stages of your life and where you are now." So I
Yeah.
like hearing your story on watching her grow.
Yeah, I think it's, like, really like, if you can have a friend that sticks with you, oh my gosh, they're worth keeping. Like, if they've
Yeah.
stayed with you and they've seen you in your lowest and your highest, like, they're a gem, really, truly.
Mhm. Yeah, because she told me a couple of times, she's like, "I almost stopped being friends with you, but I just kept being friends with you, and I'm so glad I did." And it's like, I'm glad she did too, because she was that one person that was consistent and that I had. And
Mhm,
I think that's another reason why it's hard for me to let people in my life, because if you're my friend and you're not consistent, then it makes me feel abandoned, and then it messes with my head.
mhm,
Because when I was younger, I got taken away from my mom, I got bounced from this family member to that family member, so there was no consistency in my life, especially with people.
right.
So I
Yeah.
feel it's probably, I don't know, I'm still growing and learning, and it's probably a trigger thing for me, but
Yeah, and as
yeah.
you open that up with God, like, he'll heal those parts of you where you can close that up and it won't be a problem for you. Sometimes like healing, like this is what I said in my other podcast earlier today. Like when someone's in silent, because I've always been in the shadows. That's just the way I was. It's like stay hidden, stay in the shadows, don't be seen.
Yeah.
And it was just more of a comfort because
Mhm.
I felt like if I stepped out, like I was triggering somebody, I was hurting somebody, like my mom, and I would just like all everything would be blamed on me, and I didn't want that. So I learned
Yeah.
stay hidden, but staying hidden is not a bad thing because during those times when we're silent is when God is working on us. So
Yeah.
this isolation is really when you feel isolated, those are the perfect time to speak to God because He
Mhm.
really does work with you and you don't have the distraction and it's just one on one. Even though like you feel like utterly alone, you want to feel, you want to be seen, you want to be heard, like take in those moments because God is refining you. And as you're healing and you're growing, there's going to be a time when you come out of the shadows and you start helping people.
I love how you just said that, because it was like a almost a confirmation thing. Because last night I couldn't sleep just because of everything that's going on in my life right now, and I just felt so alone. And I was like, "Oh my goodness, I feel so alone. I don't have nobody." And God's like, "I'm right here. I'm right here. Come to me." But sometimes with me anyway, I feel like I need the, I guess, physicalness or actual real speak. And I know God's there. I know you can talk to him, and I know he speaks to me, but sometimes I just feel like it's not the same thing. And I feel
Yeah.
he's really been trying to tell me to do that lately, to go to him, because I don't know, lately in my life, I sit here and I feel like I'm Job, and just like everything's just falling apart, but I know it's not, and I know it's gonna be fine. But in times like that, you just you feel so alone, and you're right, those are the times when he's like, "Hey, I'm right here, come to me, I'm trying to teach you something, show you something,"
Right.
but it's hard,
Yeah.
you know, it
Yeah,
really
no,
is,
it
but
is true because like, physical touch, like, humans need each other, and
mhm,
physical touch, like, even as babies, like, if they don't get physical touch, then they're prone to, like, have, like, a harsh behavior as they grow up, um, but if they have that physical touch, they feel safe and nurtured. So, yes, like, I get what you're saying, like,
yeah,
physical touch, like, having the human presence right there makes all the difference, but, when you're alone, that's when we really it's okay to pray for God for, like,
mhm,
really need that physical, um, touch or that physical hug, and it's okay to ask him for that because he understands, and that's just the way you're gonna talk with him. It's just like how I'm talking with you.
mhm,
And that's just how I've always talked with God was, like,
yeah, me
just like
too,
this. Yeah, and it's just I think it's just so, organic in a way where you feel him and he feels you, and it's so real, it's raw, and he feels your pain because when he was on this earth, he was alone many times. He isolated himself to show us that um, he needed God. He needed God too. And so, like he sets an example for us, and he went through a lot of these burdens, not to like just hey, I'm gonna go through it for fun. It's to relate to you and me. Like when
mhm,
you feel alone at nighttime and crying, feeling like no one's there, he gets it
yeah,
'cause he went through it, he lived it, and, he knows how to help you. So I think it's just really, beautiful, and as he works with you, um, he's shaping you, and you might end up getting that good relationship that you're wanting,
yeah,
but right now he has to work with you.
mhm, that's so good. Thanks for that.
Yeah. Well, and I also think, like, if we okay, so I'm gonna just use my mom as an example to this. So with some of my siblings, she never punished them. She gave what they wanted, right? And so like with me, she didn't care less and she could hurt me or whatever. And it was really hard. Um, so when when parents start giving kids what they want, then they expect it. They feel enabled, they feel entitled, and then they can end up being like not the best of kids. Like a lot of these siblings that were treated really well, they have emotional like toxic mindset
Mhm,
expectations. Like I deserve this. You need to treat me better. Um, and I'm gonna unfriend you because you did not, acknowledge me. This is silly
mhm,
stuff.
yeah,
Uh, when and it's like with God, like, he doesn't give those things to us because he's trying to build that relationship with us. He wants us to know the pain that we go through because as we go through a lot of these pain, he's gonna comfort us, and we're gonna eventually see how much love he has for that us. But what's really cool about that is as helping develop that, we can be that with somebody else. We know not to abuse somebody else. So it's like a great lesson to be learned. And sometimes we just have to suffer a little, and suffering's not a bad thing at times.
feel like it builds you, for, like, who you are. Because I think sometimes I think back if I didn't go through a lot of things that I went through in life, even as hard as they were at the time, I wouldn't be the person I am today. I'm pretty sure I
Hmm.
would not be this person. So,
Yeah,
sometimes I mean, you have to go through the healing journey, but don't get stuck in the situation that was handed to you. What helped me was just here recently, I went through a lot of stuff with my mom, and, um, I'm not quite sure what was all going on. I think she was running from people, and I was just kinda stuck with her as she was running from these people, and I seen a lot of bad stuff. I mean, there was it I always say, pick the pick a worst movie that you can find, and that was probably my life growing up. Um, like, minus, like, not murder, but a lot of all the other stuff. And I don't know, I used to be so angry about my life when I was little, but then I had to realize that it was my mom's journey and it wasn't mine.
yeah,
And I was just there, I was a piece of her story. And once I realized that, I it almost took away a lot of the pain that I had and kind of I don't really wanna say the anger I had toward her because I forgave her for my past when a while ago, but it just gives you a whole different outlook, you know? And I always tell my kids, I'm like, you have to give your parents some grace because 'cause they're going through things. They're learning as they go. I mean,
yep,
I tell my kids all the time, I was like, I'm really sorry for everything that you had to go through when you were younger. I didn't know. To me, it was normal. I didn't know any different. And it
yeah,
kinda makes me sad that they had to go through all that, but, you can't fix something you didn't know that was broken.
right. No, it's so
So
true. And this is, like, how you explain, like, we're all on a different journey. That's exactly how I explain, a lot of things is we're we're only fighting our own best version of ourselves.
mhm,
So you have like parents and friends and siblings in your life that kind of help you to be a best version if you choose to pick the good pieces up
mhm,
from them. But you never, and I think this is where like the society is sick in many ways, is we're just always trying to be better than like upping one person who's next to us and we want to be better than them. When really it's not that. It's trying to be the best version of ourselves. And if we see each other as instruments and tools of, hey, I'm going to pick the good pieces of you and apply them into my life,
yeah,
and vice versa, what you're doing is you're just becoming a better version of yourself. And we're not on this journey competing against each other. It's helping each other be the best version of each of ourselves, and we get to help each other. But once I think once we understand that, I think we can like hope the system, this sick system where we're always trying to crush each other.
mhm,
Um, Instead, we can help each other by, I guess, rewiring our brains into telling ourselves, like, no, it's me. And the person I want to become like is God, because he's
mhm,
our beacon, and they just go after him, really.
yeah,
So, yeah, like what you said, it's our own journey.
mhm. Yeah, 'cause when I was little, I was taken away from my mom, and I went and lived with one aunt and uncle, and then I went and lived with another aunt and uncle, and when I went and lived with the second aunt and uncle, I was with them, I wanna say probably, like, 6 months to a year, and they showed me what it was like to actually be a kid because they knew I couldn't be a kid when I was with my mom because I had to survive, um, but they taught me what it was like to be a kid. And then I seen kind of like what parents are supposed to be. I was like, "Okay,
Mhm,
well, that's the type of parent I want to be when I have kids." And now that I'm out of my toxic relationships, not on survival mode, trying to protect everybody and the peace and, like, all the things, like, that's what I still try to be like. I've always tried to be there for my kids, and they could always come to me and I mean, are you always perfect? Absolutely not. Are you still learning?
Yeah.
Yes,
Mhm.
and every kid is different. My kids are always like, "Oh, they're your favorite, they're your favorite." I'm like, "You guys are all different. There's no favorites. You
That's,
guys are
like,
your
really hard
own
to
people."
help a kid understand that,
Mhm.
"No, they're not my favorite." You there's different love language, each children needs. Some is more
Yes.
of, affectionate, others is more gifts, there's just
Mhm.
different way of showing them
Yeah.
that they are loved.
Yeah, so but, I mean, you have to throughout your journey, you have to see the little things that can help you be the person you want to be. Don't just focus on all the negative and the bad things that are happening to you and bad situations that you're put in that you have no control of. So,
Yeah, I agree with that because if we only focus on the negative, we're only what we're doing is we're creating an environment around us that is just negative. You got
mhm,
negative thoughts, you got negative boundaries, you got negative friends, your circle is negative. So
mhm,
to do the opposite, you have to do the opposite. Think positive.
mhm.
Think
Yeah,
well of yourself and think well of others.
mhm,
And you'll be surprised how well your circle will be less tainted and more purified when you start thinking in like that mindset.
yeah,
And better opportunities going to come towards you because like what you put out is usually what comes back towards you. If you're gravitating towards like toxic people and you're toxic, you're going to reach toxic people and they're going to come to you until sometimes I feel that God allows those things to happen until get sick of it. You get sick of
mhm,
yourself behaving that way and then you realize, "Hey, I got to make changes. I got to make adjustment. I got to move. I got to leave. I got to leave this environment." And that's when those moments come where God is like, "He, I can work on you now. Thank you."
mhm, yeah, that I've been in that journey lately because I have a problem letting people go.
Mhm.
So, if somebody's been in my life for it doesn't even matter when in my life. If they've been there for me at any time in my life, I feel like I can't let them go because they were there for me. So now I
Mhm.
always have to be there for them. And I had
Um,
to come to the realization that that's not true. You don't always have to be there for somebody, and it's okay to let people go. People come into your life for seasons, and I never understood that, but they come into your life for a reason at whatever point in time that is going on in your life, and they help you in whatever way, and then sometimes their time is just up, and it's their time to go. But if you keep holding on to them and bringing them back, you're not able to move forward yourself.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
that's
it's
where I'm
so
at right
true.
now, and it's so hard. I have let go of some people that have been in my life for so long that I never thought that I would ever let go of, just because I'm like, "No, this isn't right for me anymore." I don't wanna say anymore, but not now, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, I
But
totally get it.
it's hard though because I don't like to let go of people because I didn't really have anybody growing up, and I it's still something that I'm working on, but you have to be okay with letting people go out of your life because if you don't let them go, you can't move forward.
Mhm. Yeah, so true.
Yeah.
It's hard. It really is, but, it's rewarding because it's not only helping you, it's also helping other people. Because
Mhm.
you never know, like, that person may have come into your life and helped you, but maybe God's using them as a messenger to help somebody else as well.
Mhm.
And holding them behind is only keeping them from serving God in the way they
Yeah.
need to, and so I don't know, it's just God's God's plan and the way he architects like our brains and this whole world is just amazing.
Mhm.
And so we just have to put more trust in the divine and just let him, like, take that wheel.
Yeah. I can remember this one time I was at the mall just walking around, and we're gonna go in this restaurant and eat. And I don't this is gonna sound weird, but I was like, "Who is that person over there?" And he was like, "That's you in the future after you've healed." And I was like, "Oh, dang." And I think about that every single day. I'm like, "Oh, I can't wait to be that person." But then I have to
That's
sit here and
crazy because I kinda had something similar with my husband. Um, I met my husband and, he had a lot of, like he still had, like, growing up to do, but I expected him, um, to be, like I don't know, God was like, "He he's your husband." Like, there's, like, this whole thing where he told me, like, 6 months ago I would find my husband. On exactly that 6th month, um, I went on a date with my husband, and I was like, "Oh, no, I'm not ready to get married, like, no, this is not my husband, I didn't want that." But he assured me, like, he's not gonna be like this all the time. And he, like, gave me this vision of what he's gonna be in the future and how he was gonna act and what he was gonna become. And so I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, I'm attracted to that one more." And, yeah, and eventually it ended up happening. And like you said, like, you look forward to that future self because
Mhm.
it's magical in many ways. It's like, "Wow, I like
Yeah.
that."
You have to remember, though, not to go back to your old self. I found
Mhm,
myself I don't know if I don't wanna say I don't think I'm worthy. M Maybe it's just a comfort thing of just going back, not to all the way back, but
mhm.
I don't know. It's really hard to explain, and then I'm like, "No, I can't do that because if I keep going backwards, then I'm never gonna get to go forward and be that
Yeah.
other person."
Well,
And
it's because you're comfortable in that skin, how
Mhm,
you were at the time, and, like, how you ran yourself,
mhm,
and that's what your comfort is. You don't know what your future holds in many ways, and in some ways, it's kinda a scary thought knowing of, like, the unknown, like,
mhm.
what am I gonna be like? How am I gonna behave? And so, it really is it can be scary.
Yeah.
It really
I feel sometimes it can be a little overwhelming too. I feel sometimes I'm almost like I'm gonna let myself down of not getting to that person,
Mhm.
but
I totally
then
get it because, um, when I started, like when God told me to start writing my book, because I didn't want to. I'm like,
Mhm.
"No way, that's too personal." But he was like, "You're gonna help people." And I'm like, "Well, okay. If I can help one person, then I'll do it." But then it
Yes,
ended
same
up
with my book.
becoming yeah, bigger, and here I am, like, getting on podcasts and talking doing, like, interviews with people, and I've never would have done that. Like, it's nerve-wracking,
Mhm.
but you don't know what's the future's gonna hold, but you know it's gonna be good too, but it's also overwhelming because you're not used to it.
Yeah,
And,
100%.
yeah, and sometimes I hold myself back because I'm not ready for that,
Mhm.
but, I have to remind myself, like, what if I didn't show up and somebody needed to hear my message?
Yeah,
And so that's kinda what keeps me going.
same. Mhm. Yeah, I can remember my very first podcast. Oh, thought I was gonna throw up. I was so nervous. I did not wanna do it. I had a coach at the time, and she's like, "So did you get your podcast done?" I was like, "Yes." She's like, "Oh, what made you do it?" I knew I was gonna see you, and I had to have it done. She died laughing. She's like, "Hey, whatever works." But, I mean, now it's not too bad. It's just a lot of learning. You just gotta figure out
Mhm.
what works for you, but I had somebody, last night ask me if I do videos on social media. I was like, "No, I don't like to be on camera."
Uh-huh.
But then I'm like, "Well, I was like that with podcasting too, I was terrified, and now it's not so bad, but it's fine if there's somebody on the other end and I'm talking to them." It just feels like a
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah, sometimes like, a lot of times when you do God's work or even, learning a new skill, you have to get out of your comfort and
Yeah,
be
he definitely
uncomfortable. Like,
yeah.
be okay being uncomfortable, 'cause eventually, you're gonna master what you struggled with. I'm still working on it, just so you know.
Yeah, and he definitely likes to push us to be uncomfortable, I feel like.
Mhm.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
my book, I didn't wanna finish my book either. I got almost all the way through it, and a friend of mine asked if I was working on it, and I wasn't not because I didn't it was too hard for me to finish it,
Uh-huh.
and, I just sat down and I prayed about it, and I was like, "Look, if you want me to finish this book, you're gonna have to write it because I can't do it." And I got it all I, like, put my Bible to the side, got my computer out, and it was done in 2 hours.
That's
I was like,
amazing.
"Alright," 'cause I was like, "Holy Spirit's gonna have to write it." And that's what
Yeah.
happened 'cause I don't think I would have ever done it. It was just too hard, and I had a before it took me a few months to publish it, and we just we kept, there's a lot of things that kept happening to where the editing took a while, emergencies in families, we got sick and whatever. So it took us a while to edit it.
Uh-huh.
And she's like, "I'm so sorry." I was like, "No, this is God's timing. Like, there's a reason why it's taking so long, and it's because I had to keep going back and rereading my own book to heal myself."
Right.
Because I
Good
had people
point.
coming out of the woodwork being like, "Oh my goodness, you're writing a book and blah, 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 blah," and so every single time I had to go back and read the book, like, what did I put in it? Because I didn't remember because I didn't write it.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, I had to read my book, like, I don't know, 10, 20 times before it
Yeah.
was published.
Yeah, it's hard. Like, I was the same way. I was like, I told God, like, "No, I don't wanna write that book,
Mhm,
like, you're gonna have to write it," and, yeah, he was like, "I will help you write it," and he did.
mhm,
And that's the thing is when you work with God and it's God's timing, it
mhm,
comes through. It's like, download, like, "Here, write this down, write it," and, yeah, it's kinda like eh, something I will always, like, be grateful for is seeing that witness of him working through me,
mhm,
like, the way I could've done it on my own because it's just I it's too painful, and I don't want to talk about the ugly parts of
mhm.
our life.
Yeah,
It's just to me, it's not worth it. I would just keep going, ignore it, and move on.
yeah,
But
agreed. Sometimes
what
I
was your book
feel
called?
it's called Behind Closed Doors. It's on Amazon.
Oh, I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna write it down real
Yep.
quick. Hold on.
If you just search "Behind Closed Doors" by Misha Paul, it'll pop up. And then if you want an autographed copy, you have to go to my Stan store.
Okay, yeah, I'll look that up. Because your story seems so, um, wild.
Yeah. I know we got into it a little bit on the pre-interview, but,
Uh-huh,
yeah, there was a lot of stuff that happened in my life. I sometimes, I don't I'm to the point where I'm able to talk about it without it bothering me now,
uh-huh,
but then sometimes I sit here and I'm like, "Do I wanna say that out loud? Because what is that gonna look like?" I'm always worried what other people are gonna think of me, but
uh-huh.
also of the other people in the story. But
Right,
I don't ever want me talking about something come negative to the other person, even though, yes, it was a bad situation, but you don't know what was going on in their life, and that's kind of where I am in life. Um, People do bad things, or you're in bad situations, but what's the other side? What are they going through? What did they go through for them to be doing those things, you know?
Mhm.
Um,
But I do feel like when we share our story, it gives abusers a chance to like the more people write stories about what they go through,
mhm.
the less and even just not even writing stories, even just talking about it.
Yeah.
Like it gives abusers a chance to do self-reflecting. Okay, it will minimize the amount of like them abusing people because they're not going to want to be in somebody's next story or
Mhm.
in a discussion in somebody's next podcast, you know?
Mhm.
So I think it helps in many ways. It helps shed a light on other people's, hopefully, they can do self reflecting on themselves and see what they can do to be a better version of themselves. Sometimes we do have to look at the ugly parts of ourselves and say, okay,
Yeah.
this did hurt somebody and that wasn't okay. I really need to. You're hoping for that, right? That's at
Yeah.
least that's what I hope for. And I just leave it in God's hand because there's a lot of people that don't think that way.
Mhm.
And they just have to come on God's term.
Yeah. I think a lot of the reason why I don't like to talk about some things is because when it was talked about, how it was handled and what people said to me, and it still hurts to this day, and I still won't talk to those people because
People.
I don't know. Um, I mean, I guess we'll just go into it because now it's just kinda like, "What is she talking about?"
Right.
Growing up, I was molested by my cousin. And then when I became a teenager, um, I moved to Vegas with my mom, and all kinds of stuff happened there. It was just a crazy time. Um, I mean, that would be like a whole nother episode if I were to talk about what happened when I was a kid in Vegas. It's like a story I tell my kids about it, and they're like, "Oh, wow, when you were a kid, you did this in Vegas, and you did that in Vegas, and we can't even walk down the street," sort of thing. So, I mean, there was a lot of stuff. And I think I was pretty traumatized by it, but also, um, really just wanting somebody to love me because the I felt at that time in my life, the only people who's ever loved me was my aunt and uncle who I lived with, because that was the only thing that I had seen that showed me love. But then when I went back to live with my mom, all the neglect feelings were coming, like, they came back because of how life was. I can remember this one time, she didn't say "I love you" to me for, like, 7 days, or it was a really long time, I was counting the days, but she would tell her boyfriend multiple times a day. And this boyfriend didn't like me, and I ended up going back and living with my, aunt and uncle, and I just assumed it was because she didn't love me and the boyfriend didn't like me, so she chose him over me. So I felt abandoned because of that. And then so fast forward in the future, um, that cousin who molested me when I was younger came back into my life. But this time, he groomed me by telling me all the things I ever wanted to hear. You know, "You're so beautiful, I love you," all this stuff, and made me believe that I was in love with him. I call, like, Stockholm syndrome. So
Mhm.
I thought I was in love with him. When I was a teenager, I thought we were gonna, like, run away together, like, that's how bad it was. And yeah, and then, as I got older, because that happened, like, he was my first everything, and he's my cousin, and that's just like, thinking now, it's just like, "How did that ever happen?" But if you think about, like, all these things that I went through, and eventually, family found out about it, and they asked him about it, and he's like, "I never did that." Because and this is how I lost God in my life, because I blamed myself for a lot of the stuff that happened, and I didn't
Uh-huh.
think that I deserved him, and, he when I was 18, I don't remember how I remember where we were. We were, like, in the woods, and he's like, "Come to my house, you know, this weekend or whatever, just come stay." And he was basically testing me to see if I would sleep with him. So
Uh-huh.
then I felt like I had to test myself. Like, no, I would never let it go that far. Well, he ended up raping me, but he says that he didn't. But it's just like, I don't know. And then when family found out about it, they're like, "No, he never did that. That never happened." But then other families like, "Oh, yeah, I knew stuff was going on." So I it's just, that whole thing just was like, I didn't deserve God. I, like, felt like I was testing myself and I failed.
Yeah.
So I put, per se, God up on a shelf, and I put him up there, and that's where he stayed. And I got into the toxic relationship with, the kid's dad, and we were together off and on for like 12 years. And I almost committed suicide. And then I can remember I was like laying in the bathtub and I was like, oh, I could slit my wrist right now and nobody would find me until the morning. And God told me, He's like, but who would find you? And it would have been my oldest daughter. And I just cried. And then that's when I like basically cried out to him and was like, you need to help me because this is not working. And I'm so sorry for everything that I did, even though I didn't do anything. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just you go through a lot of trauma and there's a lot of healing. And I mean, I've come a long ways, but there's still a lot of stuff that I do need to work on. Um, I keep hearing that people come into your life to help you in the areas that you need. So now I'm trying to figure out like the happy medium, like people come into your life and help you because I've had a lot of people come in my life and help me through a lot of things and help me rewire my brain and all the things. But when is it that you just let them go because they were there for a certain reason, because it's like they show you that attention and they give you, I don't know, all the love and stuff. So it's like now you don't want to let them go. And oh my goodness, it's like a whole breakthrough just happened. It's like, that's probably why I do that because that's what he did to me. Huh. Anyway.
Yeah, yeah, like, I totally get it, and I'm really sorry that you went through that. It kinda reminds me of my sisters when they got raped by my brothers, and, my mom didn't do anything about it, and, um, she one of my sisters got a urinary tract infection, and she started wetting the bed,
Mhm.
and, my mom would make her do her laundry outside in the creek, even in the wintertime, it was, like, super cold. And so this was happening all the way up until they were, like, in high school, and she ended up, like, paying my sisters, like, pretty much hush-hush money, and started giving them love and affection, and so now they're confused with, on how my mom treated them to how they feel loved and, oh, worthy of my mom's love. Really, it was just my mom was just knew that's exactly what they wanted and wanted to hear, and, yeah, and it's really messed them up, especially when they found out that, "Hey, that money was to keep you quiet," because they were at that age where they could probably get her in trouble and my siblings in trouble for what they did to them.
Yeah.
And it's really sad, like, that going back and forth and treating him with abuse and then treating him with, kindness and love, something that they've always wanted.
Mhm.
It's like and then when somebody tells you like, "Hey, why are you falling for that? Like, don't, like, fall into that." And you're just allowing them to get away with it, and it's like another whole process of, like, trying to help them to understand that. And you hate to say like, "No, my mom didn't care for you in the first place," because you want them to feel that love, but you also know it's fake love, right? And so they're still kind of battling with that, and I get what you are going through, and I can relate with my siblings and myself, and, um, when it's okay to leave people behind.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah, because for, like, the longest time, I thought whoever gave me the most attention was the winner who would get me, and that's how I ended up in all these bad relationships. And then also, I was groomed to think that anything sexual was love. So it
Mhm.
took me into the middle of my marriage for God to break that from me because my husband wouldn't touch me because he had a porn addiction. And that killed me because to me, sex was love. And so my husband didn't love me because he never wanted to have sex with me. And it was really, really hard for me. But um, God just told me, He's like, let me love you. And He showed me what real love was. And yeah, that broke that chain. And now I'm just waiting for somebody to come into my life and love me like God does.
Yeah,
Like,
it will
that's my
happen, like,
yeah.
I think there's a lot more people in that situation that you're in than we truly know. A lot of people are just suffering in that idea, feeling like, "Oh, sex is what love is," and a lot of times they end up, like, giving themselves up every single time when they go on dates with people just to feel rejected,
Yeah.
and it's just it's hard, and, if we just continue to put that love to God the way He loves us, he'll heal those wounds that we're absolutely wanting, and, eventually, when it's the right time, Misha,
Yeah.
God will bring that right person to you, and it'll be worth it, truly, worth it. Yeah, and yeah, I truly believe that, and it will be special, and that's what you want. You want a relationship where it's just, like, symbolic, right? And, yeah, it'll happen. Just keep doing, what you're supposed to be doing, and things will, open up.
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah,
He also knows I
I
get
do too.
distracted very easily too, so it's probably like, "You gotta do certain things first." Like,
Right,
"I have a
yeah.
purpose for you, I have a mission for you. Get that
And
going,
like
and
I
then we'll see."
said, sometimes God isolates us to kinda help us with the aches and pains and maybe even problems that we accumulated. And he's just refining those, and he doesn't want any distraction during those time, and during the times that he is refining you, I will promise you one thing, the devil is going to try to get you away from that because he knows what God is doing to you. He's
Mhm.
refining you into a purpose and someone that it's gonna make it harder for him to get at you. So, yes, the temptation is gonna be high during those times. Just remember that.
Yeah. I feel that, the enemy is really trying to get me to stop doing what I'm doing because, oh my goodness, I just feel like everything's falling apart lately, and but every single time I feel like this, I'm like, "I can't stop doing anything." You know, like, I can't cancel a podcast, I still have to do those. I can't, I don't know, like, I have to keep doing what God wants me to do with this purpose because I know that's what the enemy is trying to get me to stop doing. So anytime that I get into a season to where I just feel like everything's falling apart, and I used to just lay in bed for days and just shut down and I couldn't operate. Now I don't do that. I'm like, okay, this is what God wants me to do, so I'm gonna do this. And that's how I get through it now.
That's great.
So Just
Yeah,
gotta
it's
keep
just
going.
yeah, I think, like, the best way to, that motivates me is show up, because
Mhm,
God shows up for you. Show up for him, and as you show up for him, you're showing up for other people that he's able to use you. And that really helps me knowing that, we're like, we're not perfect, but
mhm,
just showing up is what matters.
yep,
Yeah, it can be hard.
mhm. Well, thank you so much. This was such a great conversation. If today's episode spoke to your heart, don't forget to follow the podcast so you never miss a new story of healing and hope. Share this episode with someone who needs a reminder that they're not alone because you never know whose life it might change. If you're ready to take the next steps in your own healing journey, I invite you to check out my free quiz to see if you might be in a toxic relationship. It's a powerful first step toward clarity and freedom. You can also schedule a free clarity call with me if you're ready to break chains, release bondages, overcome limited beliefs, and build confidence and self worth. And don't forget to grab a copy of my book, Behind Closed Doors, where I share my own story of surviving domestic abuse, finding healing, and learning to trust God through it all. And thank you for turning in to Silent No Longer.